9.3 million viewers watched Colorado State versus Colorado at 10 Eastern. Yes, it was the 5th most watched college football game ever in the history of ESPN, and also the highest viewed game in the late window. These people on the East Coast were up all night to watch it, and they were so tuned in. Why did that happen? 10 years ago, if someone told you that in week 3 of the 2023 college football season, College Game Day and the eyes of the entire country would be on a team that turned out to be 4-8 and also 5-7. Not to mention, The Rock was there and Lil Wayne led the team out of the locker room. Are you crazy? This happened in 2023. It was very weird, and we all have seemed to forget about it. The Colorado Linsanity run at the beginning of the season was one of the most strange things that we've ever seen in the sport. Sit back, relax, and enjoy as I take you back in time to September 16th, 2023. If you don't know who I am, I'm Saturday Shenanigans, and I post 3 college football videos every single week to keep you guys entertained all off season. Feel free to subscribe and join the best family in college football. This is the fastest growing college football YouTube channel. Jump on the bandwagon now before it's too late. All of this madness started in the off season of 2023 for Colorado when Coach Prime Deion Sanders took over the reins for the Buffs, coming over from Jackson State. And not only that, over 90% of the roster was overhauled from the transfer portal. So there were a lot of questions surrounding this team, and everyone was super interested on what they would do. The narrative is that a lot of these players, such as Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, who played at HBCU, would not be good enough to play at the Power 5 level. There were people talking about Colorado being the worst team. Yes, people on ESPN were saying Colorado was going to be the worst team in the Power 5, and it was unreal when they went on the road to face a ranked TCU in week 1 in a tough environment, a team that had just played in the national championship. Yes, the national championship runner-up, and they won a thriller. A thriller with Shedeur Sanders throwing for over 5 touchdowns. They put the whole world on notice. It was a big noon kickoff game, prime time, eyes of the country, and they did it. Viewership was at an all-time high. Then the Buffs went back home to face a rival Nebraska team. Now, at this time, we thought Nebraska was going to be a lot better with Matt Rule. They lost a lot of close games in 2022, so we had no clue how good this team was actually going to be. Shedeur Sanders went 31 of 42, 393 yards with 2 touchdowns. That is just unreal efficiency. Colorado took care of business. They won 36-14. Although it wasn't the prettiest of games, it was low scoring. It was 0-0 after the first, 13-0 Colorado at halftime. But there you go. Colorado is 2-0 after going 1-11 the season before. And then they play against their real rivals the next week in week 3, a primetime game on the West Coast, 7 p.m. versus Colorado State. Colorado State with head coach Jay Norvell went 3-9 in 2022. Obviously, this was a rebuilding program, and they were looking to gain some momentum going into the next season. No, they didn't have home run championship expectations. They weren't expected to get 9-10 wins, compete in the Mountain West with great teams like UNLV and Boise State. However, they were expected to be better. In week 1 of the 2023 season, the Rams faced Washington State. They actually hosted them. No, this wasn't in Pullman. This game was in Fort Collins, and this was at the time where Cam Ward was doing his thing. He was electric. Washington State actually opened up the season 4-0. They won this game 50-24, but not really a bad loss for Colorado State if you think about it. Funny enough, after the September 2nd game against the Cougs, they had a bye week before they played Colorado. Yes, they had only played 1 game going into the extremely hyped matchup against the Buffs. This is where I'm going to get into the shenanigans. Shedeur Sanders and the rest of the Colorado Buffaloes, Coach Prime had no problem with talking their talk. They are known to be outspoken. They talk to other teams. When they win, they are going to let you know. And before the Nebraska game, there were some players on the logo, on the buff, at the 50-yard line in week 2. And Shedeur Sanders did not like this. You know what he did? He flashed the rollie in their face, and this was one of the first viral moments of the year. And after Colorado came out and dominated against Nebraska, you knew not to poke the bear. They had continuously said, it's personal. We take this personal. And you know what Colorado State did before the week 3 game against a top 25 Colorado? They made it personal, but this just made the story, this just made the lore, this just made the headlines even better. Prior to the week 3 matchup, head coach Jay Norvell of Colorado State criticized Deion Sanders for not removing his glasses for interviews. He said, quote, "When I talk to grown-ups, I take my hat and my glasses off. That's what my mother taught me. So many of you were tired of all of that media attention for Colorado. All over social media, all over Instagram, Twitter, every second post was about Shedeur Sanders, Coach Prime, the glasses, the Colorado Buffaloes shocking the world, and it was transcending college football. Seriously, I don't think we have ever seen that much attention for a college football team in the history of the sport. A couple more things had to fall into place to make this game legendary. The first thing being, there were no ranked matchups in week 3. That is surprising. This may have been one of the most boring weeks in college football that we had seen in a decade. And that's why ESPN pretty much had no other choice than to bring College Game Day in Boulder and follow the hype train. In week 2, we had seen that great game, Texas versus Alabama, where Texas won. Then following that in week 3, Alabama went on the road to play USF, which is very weird. They were sluggish. They benched Jalen Milroe, and then Texas was playing at home against Wyoming, and there were a whole lot of matchups like Florida State versus an unranked Boston College that ended up being a good game. It ended up being close, but come on, what are these matchups? Ohio State also played Western Kentucky. They won 63-10, an easy conference game for Penn State, who was ranked 7. They beat Illinois. Washington went on the road to face Michigan State, blew them out by 30. Notre Dame played Central Michigan. I mean, what is this, guys? The pregame festivities were something out of a movie. You had Fox Big Noon Kickoff as well as ESPN College Game Day. They were simultaneously competing against each other. On Big Noon Kickoff, you had Gronk and Lil Wayne show up. I mean, that's a good one. And then on College Game Day, you had The Rock making picks. He was the guest picker. He was talking. He was on the Pat McAfee show on Friday. Oh my. We all know that College Game Day had been falling off in the last few years, but this show on Saturday, September 16th, had 2.3 million viewers. It was the best September College Game Day since 2010 and the third best September show on record. A report around this time came out that said Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes team had a direct economic impact of $72.1 million for the city of Boulder. September of 2023, we were living in a whole different world of college football. It wasn't just the stars that were there for the pregame festivities. Closer to game time, we saw Portland Trail Blazers head coach Chauncey Billups and also Miami Heat star Kyle Lowry. Rapper Key Glock was also in attendance. He was in the locker room before and after the game. Let's get to the one that is just insane. Lil Wayne, yes, Weezy, led the Colorado Buffaloes. He led a college football team out of the locker room to start the game. What are you doing if you're on the other team and you see that? You see Weezy, one of the GOATs, one of the greatest all-time rappers, leading another team out. Of course, we know Coach Prime has a lot of celebrity friends, so it's not that surprising that he made this happen. But just the sheer fact, in week 3, this was blowing up everywhere, and this put the Colorado Buffaloes, this put college football on top of the world. With all the hype before the game, this game could have just not been played. They could have just called off the game, and it still would have been incredible from what we saw. However, we got a classic. The game started on a storybook play halfway through the first quarter when it was 0-0 to open up the scoring. Shedeur Sanders, yes, the other son of Deion Sanders, took it all the way back for a pick 6. This had people going wild. This had the commentators going nuts. No one knew what to do. The next memorable moment was later on in the first quarter with Colorado State leading 14-7. There was some controversy. Henry Blackburn hit a late cheap shot on Travis Hunter on a downfield route, and it actually knocked Hunter out of the game. It caused some beef. There was a lot of talk. It was a 15-yard penalty, and Travis was injured for a while after this. And this just made the drama, the beef, the rivalry even more intense than it already was. Moving on to the fourth quarter, Colorado is down 28-17 with 9 minutes left to go. Things aren't looking great. After a field goal and then a punt by Colorado State, it was 28-20. Colorado was going on a hopefully game-tying drive with a minute left to go, led by Shedeur Sanders. With 40 seconds to go, Colorado scored on a 45-yard touchdown from Sanders to Jimmy Horn, and this had everyone going nuts. However, Colorado still had to get the 2-point conversion to at least send the game into overtime. After 2 thrilling overtimes, with Colorado having a 43-35 lead, Nicolosi threw an interception for Colorado State to end the game. Most famously, in the post-game interview, Shedeur Sanders said it was time to go Brady mode when asked how he did it on those late game drives. He was also wearing the sunglasses that Deion Sanders was selling to poke fun at Colorado State and Jay Norvell. He flashed the watch like he always did. It was just unbelievable, and these moments went viral for almost weeks. Then we know what happened in week 4. Colorado went undefeated as a ranked team into Eugene, and they got trampled by the Oregon Ducks. Dan Lanning most famously said, "They're playing for clicks, we're playing for wins." Colorado State finished at 5-7, which was an improvement over 2022 3-9 as we expected. It is still unbelievable today that these two programs broke viewership records, had the entire country in the palm of their hands, and did it on a random night game of week 3. I hope you guys are fascinated as much as I was with this. Thank you guys so much for reaching the end of the video. Make sure to subscribe and join the best family in college football. I've been Saturday Shenanigans, your home for unfiltered college football content, and I'll see you guys soon.